5. Let's do this. Whoop. Who's there? All right, just setting up for anybody watching. Yeah, I probably should have said something there. For anybody watching this not live, I'm getting ready to, what is that? Get out of here. Anyway, I'm getting ready to make a silicone mold for some Kenner. This guy. This is my guy, my Endor Rebel Commando Trooper, and his rifle. So what I want to make is his rifle, and it's not for repro purposes, but for custom figure purposes. And hey, Lil Will, what's going on? Hey, Will, let me know if you can hear me, if I sound all right. Whoever's in here first, I usually make them my guinea pig, my assistant. So let me know if you can hear me. Just like a thumbs up or whatever. Or if there's an echo or something sounds weird. And then we'll get going here in a second. Once we get a couple. Let's see. Great shirt. Thank you very much. Sounds fine. Awesome. Let's see. You just got your D&D figures, the Marvel ones, or the Hasbro ones. I'm guessing because there's also the NECA ones that I got both. Which ones did you get? I like them both, but having issues with my NECA Grim Sword. He does not want to stand. Hasbro Wave 1, yeah. So I saw Wave 2 was announced, which is cool. It'll have Eric, Sheila, Presto. I almost called him Wizzo. And it would be cool if they did like what you call your target exclusive of like a War Duke. Man, a Hasbro War Duke would be so awesome. Yeah, it'll complete the gang. Really excited about that. Have you had any issues with them? I made a couple of videos of not necessarily like tutorials, just like how to not break them. I guess a lot of people have had parts break. Cool if they did a new Tiamat figure. Yeah, Tiamat would be like a good. I mean, it would have to be huge since it's a 6-inch scale, you know. So I'm thinking probably like a HasLab kind of thing. I don't know if I would support it, but yeah, one of the joints. Yeah, totally. You got to do that. Got a couple people in here. Yeah, it would be awesome if they did that, like a giant Tiamat. I've got my vintage one sitting up behind me on the shelves, but it'll be great. All right, what are we doing? Let's see. Gotta clean my glasses. I'm gonna give it just a couple more 30 seconds maybe, and then I'm gonna dive into silicone mold that I'm making. Okay, it's better. All right, where are we at? All right, so what I got is I got my Super Sculpty. Haven't used this stuff in a while. You said, what about doing a new, what? A new line? A new Neck of Strongheart? Yeah, Neck of Strongheart's coming out. And Zarek, the little goblin man. It'll be awesome. So I'm using my Super Sculpey here. I'm going to make a mold, silicone mold with Mold Star 30. Hoping this stuff still works. I haven't used it in a while. This is silicone, 2 parts. I'll be mixing it in a cup. Stuff is very messy. But yeah, I'm going to do it anyway. All right. So, like I said, what I'm doing is my Kenner, or my my Kenner vintage Star Wars Endor Commando rifle. I can't find these anywhere. I need extras. So for some customs I'm making. So I'm just gonna make my own. See how it turns out. Tonight I'll be doing half the mold because it's gonna be a 2-part mold. When you do silicone molds, you can make them 1 part or 2 part, and I'm gonna be doing a 2-part. And the way that you do that is you use Legos. So I've got a bunch of Lego pieces here that I'm gonna build. Let me start that again. So I'm gonna build my mold around the gun. So I'm gonna need at least, I'm gonna give it a little bit of space. So I'll imagine the mold is gonna surround the gun like that. And let's see. So I'm just building, do I want it that tight? Let's see. That might be too tight. So I'm gonna go on the outside. I guess like that. What else we have over here? I'm gonna do one more row. Got in there. If you guys have any questions or comments while I'm going, please feel free. Do I want to do diagonal? I think we'll do that. So it's going to go in the mold like that, diagonally. And I'm just going to build it around it. Boom. Boom. All right, so I've got my, get in there. That's more or less the cage, we'll call it, for the mold. I'm gonna take that out, and I'm gonna fill it with these chunks of Super Sculpey that I have already flattened. This is just Super Sculpey. That's all it is. This clay comes in here, and these weird like strings or something, little strands. I'm gonna fill. I've reused this wad of Super Sculpey before. Just keep using it. Let's see. Fit all this stuff in. I've got, I don't know if you guys can hear this, I've got Svengoolie on in the background. It's Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. And it's one of my favorite shows. Svengoolie, if you haven't watched it, check it out. I actually auditioned for, sent in an audition tape to be his, I guess, replacement. I guess if you know Svengoolie, I guess he's retiring. But, and I was actually on TV, like national TV, a couple weeks ago when they showed my audition tape. It's pretty funny. I mean, I don't have a chance. There's like thousands of people auditioning. All right, so now I've got my this is one of my dentist tools, metal dentist tools. I'm using this sort of flat spear end, to smooth out the Super Sculpey, make it seamless along the edges on the inside, so you don't get any leakage when you pour the silicone in. And it's a little bit tedious, but you got to do it. It's part of the deal. I'm just dragging the tool along the inside. Cool stuff. Thanks, Will. Appreciate you being here. So I'm just making sure there's no spaces on the inside of the mold where the liquid silicone may leak into. Smooth it out. Will, what made you tune in tonight? You do silicone stuff? Or just a follower on my channel? Checking out what I'm going to be screwing up tonight? All right. I also want to make sure it's kind of like level on the inside as much as I can. Flatten it out. All right. Now the tricky part here, it's going to be 2-part mold. So what that means is follow the channel. Love the idea of seeing molds being made on. Yeah. So you could do this. I'm going to be doing the gun. You could do this on a larger scale for a figure. You could do this for a hand, whatever you want. The next step in this process is going to be the resin, but that won't be tonight because you need to let the mold cure. So the tricky part, though, is I'm going to be doing a 2-part mold. So once this is on the inside here, like so, I'm gonna spray it in a minute with this mold release so that I can peel it out and get it out. And then once I spray it, I'll be mixing the 2 parts, A and B, that I showed earlier, these guys. And once it's mixed, I'll pour that over so that it's up to the top. And then that'll sit for a number of hours. And then once that's done, I'll take the Legos off. Once it's cured, I'll take the Legos off, carefully peel the silicone apart from the clay and the weapon on the inside. I'll remove the weapon. I'll take that piece of silicone that's 1/2 of the 2-part mold, turn it upside down, put the gun back into that, spray it again, and then mix another, re-pour silicone over the top of that. That'll be the second half. And then once that's cured, peel it apart. You got your mold. Take the gun out, you got your mold. Then I can fill that mold with resin, and the resin cures, and then you pull that out, you got the gun. The tricky part for something like this is that this gun is so thin and small that getting all the details, making sure that it's like, it's going to be like right now, if I were to pull it out of this, it would have the indentation in the clay of the gun. But because the gun's so thin, you risk losing a lot of the detail. And also, when I pour the resin to make the gun, it's going to be tricky to make sure that within the 2 sandwiched halves of the mold, that all the spots are filling with resin. So, because I won't be able to see what's going on inside the mold. So this is kind of like a crapshoot in a lot of ways. but I didn't have an alternative. This is how you would make any silicone mold for anything. But it's usually better if you use larger objects like a figure or something else. I've never done it with accessories, so this is the first time for me for something so small. But I've got it in there pretty good. I've patted it down. I also want to be careful with the gun, the accessory, because it's a vintage accessory, original, and very fragile. It could break, the barrel, the strap. So taking a chance here, but I'm hoping that this works. So I think I've got it down about as far as I want it. Get it in there a little bit more. I'm just kind of pressing it into the clay, the super sculpting that I'm using. So from here, I'm going to mix the silicone. I also need to spray this, and when you use this stuff, any kind of spray, any kind of something that's going to go in the air, wear a mask and preferably do it outside. So what I'm going to do is, shake it up good. And I don't blame you if you can't hang, but I'm going to step away for literally 30 seconds, okay? Because I'm going to just step outside and spray this real quick. My door is right there. Because you want to be really safe. This stuff is probably mostly poison, so be very careful. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray it. You won't be able to see, but I'm going to just go 1 pass, 2 pass right over the top of this weapon with the spray, and then while I'm mixing the silicone, that'll sort of like sit for a second, let it sit, and that'll keep it from sealing into the silicone. So they'll be able to split everything apart once it's cured. So I'm going to be back in 30 seconds, like literally. You can time me. This is all shooken up, ready to go. Be right back. You guys be cool. Boom, less than 30 seconds. Right? It's my timing. All right. So yeah, like I said, some kind of mask is preferable. So you can kind of tell it's a little bit shiny. It's got some of that on it. I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to mix make some space for these Legos. I'm going to mix the silicone. I got a whole big bag of Legos here. Always keep spare Legos. You won't be needing these anymore for tonight. And you can even see like see the blue. You see the blue? That's old silicone that I missed when I was taking the mold apart. So mold is ready to go. I've also got my extra super sculpting that I pulled out of the box. I'm going to keep that in a bag. This stuff will last probably, it'll still be usable for the next 6 months to a year, I would say. You can keep coming back to it. Just put it in a plastic bag so it doesn't get like crusty and weird. But if you look at the box when you buy this stuff, it's not an airtight box. Like it's just a cardboard box that this stuff is sitting on the shelves in, right? Yeah, because I've got an unopened one up here, and yeah, it just sits on the shelves like this in this box at Michael's or whatever place you buy your stuff at. So yeah, I guess as far as storage, just put it in a cool place, and by cool I mean like Hall & Oates cool, right? Hall & Oates. Any Hall & Oates fans? All right, so 2 cups. Where do you buy your supplies? I have a Michael's, arts and crafts place that's like 2 blocks from here, not even. So I walk over there and I get stuff like this Super Sculpey. You can get, it's more crafty stuff, that they have. When I need silicone, I order that online. When I need paints, epoxy sculpt, stuff like that, I order that online. And in fact, when this video is, it might be right now. If there's a description for this video, I can't see because I'm on StreamYard, but on YouTube, in the description, I'll have all my affiliate links that link to resin, silicone, Super Sculpey, the spray that I use. Everything's in the description of my videos. You know, even the dentist tools that I used, these guys. So you can find all those affiliate links, and those are mostly for Amazon, because Amazon has the cheapest prices that I found. But any arts and crafts store will have a version of, they should have a version of resin and silicone stuff. Yeah. But I like to use the Smooth On brand, Mold Star 30. It's a very, very durable. Let me show you. It's a very durable silicone. So this is what I'm making. This is a two-part mold that I made previous. So here's it's like a chunk, very durable, 2 parts, like I said. And if you imagine, here's the figure that I made with it, or this is the sculpt of the figure. This is my Turbo Death figure that I sculpted. It's like a little mini Maba. So same process as with this gun that I made here. Just imagine, just interchange this figure for that gun, and it's the same exact process. So basically, at one point, this guy was this sculpt, this epoxy sculpt. Hey, Nate, what's up? Nope, we're like still going. So imagine this guy. He was sitting in the Super Sculpey, that just like the gun is, right? And then I poured the silicone over him, which would be like this. You know, just poured it over him. All right, and then it cured. I took the Legos off, I flipped it, pulled him out, and then I've got half of it. I put him back in, set him down, build the Legos back around because you need the walls. Poured the silicone over the top, let it sit for a few hours, and then all of a sudden you take it out of the Legos, you got your 2 parts. So that's what I'm doing tonight. And this stuff, I mean, I don't think I could rip this in half if I wanted. It's that tough. It looks, you know, it's flexible, but it's really tough stuff. So with that in mind, I got my buddy, my dog here. He's about to go bananas on the folks outside that are screaming and yelling. So what I'm going to do is make some more space. Boom. And strong like a bull. What's up, Nate? How are you doing today? It's good to see you. So I'm getting ready to mix this stuff. Like I said, it's very messy and gross. It's 2 parts. This has been sitting in my cupboard for a little bit, so hopefully it's still good. I'm sure it is. And I usually eyeball it, and I'm not going to need much, right? So all I need to do is fill up to just about the top of this mold here. So I'm going to eyeball it. I'm going to do that. That's probably too much, which is fine. That's was that part A? Yep, part A. Done. Part B. I want to get equal amount for part B. I think pros would say definitely don't eyeball it. You know, like, I don't know. Let's see if I hold it up here. It's pretty much equal-ish. Okay. The bigger, you know, you definitely could do a better job than what I just did. But the bigger part is, more important part is mixing it thoroughly. Yeah, awesome fun. It is. So, and most people also wear gloves, which I don't have gloves on. And that's just because it's so sticky and weird, and if you get it on yourself. So I'm just going to try to be super careful. get these two mixed together. And I'm going to do like what you call your, I've got popsicle sticks, by the way. That's what I'm using. So I'm going to mix this up real good. And then I'm going to dump it back into the other cup and mix it again. The other thing is you want to avoid, it's going to create air bubbles inside the mold if you're not careful. So to avoid that, one way to avoid that is by pouring it from a higher height and letting the stream get really thin. I'm going to sneeze. Hold on. Woo! Just letting the boys know you're on. Awesome. Yeah. What do we have? We have a handful of people in here right now. All right, so that side's mixed. I'm going to pour it back into this other side because there's a dog hair. Hold on, let's get that out. There we go. You going, man? You're everywhere. I'll put that right there. All right, so as you can see, there's residue in there, so I want to make sure that I get everything as equal as possible since I eyeballed it. I'm going to get this out of here into there. Whoop. Boom. Whoa. All right. That was good. Get another mix going. Get all the edges going. You would do the same, you'd be just as thorough with the resin when you end up mixing the resin as you are with the, thank you, bless you, thank you. With the resin as you are with the silicone. You want to just make sure everything's mixed, get in all the crevices, creases. Mixed up real good. And you've got about, I would say the pot life, as they call it, for this stuff, for the silicone. It can sit in this cup probably for, I don't know, at least 30 minutes to an hour before it starts to cure. However, it will take about 3 to 4, maybe more hours before it's ready to be peeled off and used as a silicone mold. So keep that in mind as far as timing and all that stuff and what you're doing. I think what I'm going to do, since I'm going to pour this right now and then it just needs to sit. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour it, I'm going to set it aside, and then I'm going to do a little sculpting with you guys if that sounds good, since we it's a shorter live stream, and there's always tons of stuff that I could do. So maybe I'll do a little sculpting on a surprise project that you guys haven't seen yet. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, I want a higher pour. You won't be able to see it from this B camera, but you will be able to see it from the A camera that I'm looking at right now. And I just want to pour it from a height, right? Where's the right, left? There we go. Anyway, I'm going to pour it from a height so that it gets a thin stream in and over the gun into the mold, and that's gonna help pop air bubbles. Is what that's gonna do. So let's do that. Just gonna pour it from about this high into the mold. There's a big glob. You want to avoid globs, so you can see the thin stream, and you want to you don't want to necessarily cover, like move the stream. You want to let the silicone find its own way into the mold and into the little crevice and creases, and let it fill the mold on its own instead of like moving it around. Kind of blocking the light. Sorry about that. That's the Umu. Yeah, this is Smooth On. It's not Umu. It is Smooth On though. Same company. This is Mold Star 30, Nate, and I'll show you the bottles as soon as I'm done with this pour. And I'm going to bring it all the way just to about to the top of the mold. My table is on an incline, so it's going to look weird, but it'll be what I want. I'm going to get this. So at this point, the accessory is covered, so I don't have to worry about, you know, chunks falling out, like large glops falling out. So I'm gonna sort of do a little, I'm gonna help it along here, so I don't waste it, and make sure that there's enough. Because if you don't pour to the top, and I left enough room at the top, see it's already on my thumb. It's like the blob. It's like gets everywhere if you're not careful. Let me get my... So scoot this over out of the glare. Every once in a while, you'll see a bubble rise to the top and just sort of pop. You can see like movement. That's air bubbles rising up, which for the most part, we got rid of the air bubbles with that thin stream. But there's still air trapped inside. Yeah, Nate says something to do with kids. Depending on the age of the kids, you just want to be careful, man, because like everything I'm working with is toxic right now. So, you know, and there's a safe way to do that with kids, I suppose. I don't have kids, but I don't know if you were here when I did the spray. You definitely want to use a mask. This is the mold release so that nothing gets stuck. Karis1, what's going on? Thanks for being here. Wear a mask, do this outside. And I had to step away. A couple of you were here when I stepped away for like 30 seconds to spray the mold before I poured the silicone. You can heat torch the bubbles out slightly. Yeah, I don't know if you can with silicone. With the resin, definitely. But that's another, you know, flammable, crazy tool that I'm doing all this in my studio apartment. So that's why I step outside and whatever else I need to do, wear a mask, all that. By the way, Nate or Karis, is my volume still good? Just checking. Volume's good. No weird echoing. Sound is good. Somebody let me know. Thumbs up or whatever. Let's see. Oh yeah, I was going to show you this. There you go, Nate. Parts A and B, Mold Star 30. This is what I like to use. So this stuff will eventually, this mold will eventually be like that. It's a two-part. Cool, cool. So we've got it poured. Now this needs to sit. Volume is great. Awesome. Thank you, man. So this needs to sit for 4 to 6 hours. So I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff, and I'm going to do a little bit of sculpting on this here Werewolf by Night that I've been working on. Good. All I need to do is a little bit of his pants work, and then his head is around here somewhere. Let me get this stuff out of the way, and I'll show you that. Where's my bag? I store this stuff in a bag. The silicone goes into a plastic bag. Seal that up, get it out of the way. And then I've got my, for everybody who came late, Super Sculpey is what I used at the bottom of the mold. Pick that up just about anywhere that sells art supplies. The mold release, you can find that on Amazon. And all the links for all this stuff is in the description of this video, whether it's right now or when it's, might not be there till I post the video, but it'll be there, all my affiliate links. And I try to find the cheapest links for these, cheapest cost. Most of it's on Amazon for you guys. So, you know, affiliate links help me out if you end up buying this stuff anyway. Let's get that out of the way. Boom, boom. All right. So I'm just going to scoot this guy over there. Love the shirt. Thanks. Dungeons and Dragons. Greatest cartoon ever, right? All right. So what I got here is, so we pop this hat on. You guys are the first ones to see this, kind of in the state that he's in. So it's going to be a Werewolf by Night custom figure. Sculpted that face, wolf face. Let's go this way. That white is blowing out. You'll definitely see better pictures of this when he's done, obviously. It was a beast, X-Men beast head that I sculpted into a werewolf. So that's what's happening there. I want to try to sculpt some more of his pants and answer some more of your questions, hang out with you guys for a little bit longer. Mold, get that out of there. And at the end of this live stream, before I sign off, I'll run through again everything that I used and what I did, and we'll check out the mold to see where it's at, if it's changed at all. So we'll do this for another few minutes or so. So what I'm going to get is my safety solvent for when I sculpt. I'm going to put a little bit in this cup. And I'm going to get my 2-part. So I got my Aves 2-part epoxy, and I'm going to actually be doing a giveaway for some safety solvent and some Aves epoxy on my Patreon. Let's see, this month. So today's the 1st. So I'm going to do that this month on my Patreon. And also where's that? I've also got a Aves sculpting mat that they sent me. So they sent me some safety solvent, some epoxy, and a sculpting mat that I'm going to be giving away on my Patreon. If you guys are interested, it's patreon.com/actoydesign. And I got my podcast on there. I got my behind the scenes, all that stuff. This is part A. It's part A? Yeah, part A. I like to use the white epoxy. It helps me see the details better. So I'm going to get about a marble size. Thanks, Nate. It's about a marble sized bit. Again, I just eyeball everything. Some people like measure it out. I just feel like that's, I don't know, time consuming. And once you use the stuff, as long as I've been using this for like 12 years, like you get to know how much you need. But I do waste a lot. Sometimes I don't know how much I need. Part B. Yeah. You can tell it's getting old. And I would absolutely advise, if you buy this stuff, which again, the links are in the description of this video, don't buy this giant tub. Buy the smaller containers, because by the time you, even as much as I use this stuff, by the time I get to the bottom, it's starting to get a little rough. So get the smaller ones. All right, too much. Take a chunk out. This looks good. Yeah. 2 marbles. A little less of this. All right. Get rid of that. Then you just squish them together. Mix it up. I do the. Is epoxy hard? I mean, it cures rock hard. You know, like this guy. my I use it for everything, and everything that's on here, this this guy, all the white areas, it's all epoxy. And yeah, like I could throw this across the room and it would not break. I don't think. When it's in this state, it's very soft. It's like clay. Not very soft. I mean, it's not like the silicone where it's oozing everywhere. So I just keep rolling it into like a worm or a snake. Let's I'm gonna throw a question out to you guys. Is everybody caught up? And what are your thoughts on Bad Batch and Mandalorian? Let's narrow it down. Let's start with Mandalorian. Not this past week, but the one before. What did you guys think about? Um, and let's keep it positive. But what did you guys think about Ahmed Best showing up in the show? Personally, I liked it. I'll lead off with that. I didn't like it at first. Watched it a couple times. I really like it. Wonder what you guys think. It was a great character, I thought, and a character I didn't realize was like already in canon adjacent as the host of that show. It's pretty crazy. And then wonder if you guys have seen that. All right. All right. So it's mixed. You can see there's a few little lines in there. You want to make sure you get it. You want to even one color. So if you see any lines in there of the darker part B, you want to make sure you just mix it up again. You thought it worked? Cool. I didn't realize that, when they showed him, I knew it was Ahmed Best, and I like Ahmed Best. Not a huge Jar Jar fan, but I like Ahmed Best. That's not his fault. But I didn't realize that the character that he was playing, Keller, what's his name? Keller Beck, Keller, Keller Beck. Bad Batch is awesome, man. I like him. Some I don't. Anyway, I didn't realize that he was already in canon. Yeah, Bad Batch was crazy. It had that, like Empire Strikes Back vibe where like obviously the story's not done, kind of left us hanging. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm going to layer some of this epoxy over the thigh because I need to cover it like this one. So, and it's got to be fairly thin. This is for his pants. You've been scanning Mo two bad heads, change expressions. Is that like a 3D? You're talking about like a 3D scanning for 3D printing? Is that what you're talking about? Right. So I like to do when I'm trying to get this coverage like this. I like to do it in strips because it helps me get the coverage that I want. Make sure you cover the whole area equally, and that it's an equal thickness all over the leg. I've not read the novels. No. Which novels are you talking about? I mean, I haven't read them, but which ones are you talking about? Like the new ones or the Zahn ones, or? Karis says yes to my question. So I'm curious about the process of 3D scanning. Somebody told me it was a really hard thing to do. Obviously, you need to know how to do it and use certain equipment. Thank you. Did you guys watch Werewolf by Night? It was awesome. Like the special on Disney Plus. That design does not look like this. This is a different, more like traditional werewolf design. I was able to get a RevoScan scanner for small objects, usually dental stuff. I see. Yeah, that would make sense. That would be like typical use for it. What's a scanner like that cost? Curious. So you scan it and then it just makes like a 3D file of what you scan, and then you're able to like resize it how you want and then print it. I'm guessing is how it all works. I don't know. Order 66 novels. I have not. When did those come out? I love the idea of Kellen Beck. Kellen, is it Kellen or Keller? Keller Beck. Keller? I don't know. I love the idea that he's like the guy, the go-to guy when it comes to Padawans. Like he's the one you go to when one of the Padawans is in trouble. Where's my blade? My blade. It's over there. Give me 1 second. I gotta reach this. You can still hear me? I'm back. Darth Bane trilogy. Okay, that's $800. Wow, yeah, I can't afford that. Boba novel. Boba's my guy. Boba novel. It sounds weird. It's weird. Say that to yourself. Boba novel. Boba novel. What are you doing? Reading a Boba novel. Yeah, black and white. It was great. Really good, like Halloween special. All right. So I'm trimming this up here around the seam where the hip, where the joint is. I want to still be able to use that joint swivel. That's cool. I'd love to get into that. I've got a project I'm working on now where the person that hired me to do says that they're going to have to like scale it up larger, which means I think that they're going to have to like scan it, 3D scan it, and then make it bigger. If that's something that's possible. Yeah, great story. So, Karis, let me ask you. I'll make scanners. It's cool. Yeah. So if I like like this, I sculpted this and gave it to you, could you 3D scan it and then make it larger and then print it larger than this? Is that a possibility? That's my question. Okay. So I'm trimming all this stuff away from, yes, he says, okay. So I'm trimming all this away from the joints, and I'm gonna have to smooth it out. Yeah, that would make sense. Egum. I don't know if you guys can hear Egum barking, growling at people. It's okay, buddy. Now, I'd love to have my own toy line. I absolutely love my art, whether it's whether it's designing toys, which is my number one, or painting or drawing or doing resin stuff, like I was doing earlier, molds. Like, I wish this is like more of a side gig than anything. I wish that it was my full-time job. Just doing art. I love it. I appreciate that. Thanks for the offer, my friend. It's really awesome. Yeah, I just don't feel right if I don't create something every day or work on creating something every day. So you guys can see I'm carving away around the joint, and I'll be blending it down closer to the joint with my what you call the safety solvent. You'll be able to see the safety solvent in action. All right, that's good. Chewy is barking at you. You can hear stuff outside, like any dog would, I guess. There's always people in the courtyard, like talking and stuff. And it's like, shut up. All right, where's my there? So this is my favorite one. I think I showed this on last live stream. I appreciate that, Nate. This is my dentist tool that I love. It's that spearhead. So I'm going to be using that. Yeah, man, you got to believe. You got to keep moving forward and believe, I guess. That's the best way to do it. So I'm going to be smoothing. Did that freeze up? All right, here we go. Yeah, making dreams reality is the key. So I'm smoothing this epoxy into, as close to the joint as I can. You don't want it too close to the joint, because then when you move the joint, it's going to rub, and that'll rub the paint away, and all you'll see is this white. So I'm smoothing this out to make it flush as close to the joint as possible without getting into the joint. Working with epoxy is both fun and tedious. I'm working all the way around. I'm sure there's folks out there watching this who have worked with it also. You know what I'm talking about. If you guys are looking for any of these tools, these should also be in the description for the video. Kind of mushing it closer and then smoothing it out. Does anybody have a, let's see, keep the faith, keep the faith, yep. Todd McFarlane, is he a buddy of yours? Tell him to hire me. No. Todd McFarlane is the reason that I got into, I was into comics when I was a kid. My mom had, she potty trained us with comics. She'd bribe us. She's like, learn how to use the toilet and you get comic books. And we're like, okay. Yeah, Mom, okay. And I have a picture of my brother sitting on this weird like kid toilet or something. I don't know what it is. If you guys have kids, maybe you use those. And he's reading this old Spider-Man comic. But it wasn't until like I read McFarlane's like his 298, 300, and then 300 through what is it, 324 or something like that. It wasn't until I read those and got those that I was like, holy cow, comic books are amazing. And then he like started his toy empire, which a lot of his toy fans, it's funny, a lot of his toy fans don't realize that he's actually one of the greatest comic book artists of all time. He used to work at the comic store. That's awesome. Is that store still there? A lot of those guys did. It's funny. It's where I work at. My brother runs All Yeah Comics in Skokie, Illinois, and I work there. Me and Egum work there on Tuesdays. We help out. So maybe that means it will happen for me, maybe, because since I work at part-time at a comic book store. All right, so also very important, clean your tools. Take a little bit of this safety solvent, clean it up. I always keep a rag right here, kind of a gross rag. Keep your tools clean, especially your brushes. All right, so you can see it's kind of rough. That's fine. That's where I was. That's awesome. You were going to sculpt too bad. So you're a big Motu fan then? Yeah, his toy line. You know how I feel about his toy line. I'm not a huge fan of it. But yeah, Karis, you're a big Motu fan. I created over 100 original Motu characters of my own design and turned them into toys for a client of mine who really was a huge fan of my work. So this guy has over 100 of my original characters in his home. He designated another dimension. Cool. He designated like an entire like giant case to just my work. It's pretty flattering. Yeah, if you look at my Instagram feed or my website, actoydesign.com, you'll see under the Motu section, you can see all the original characters that I made. All right, now I'm smoothing it out. All right, let's see. So you can see the joint. It's still wet from where I smoothed it in, and I can, once this stuff cures, I can go through with sandpaper, fine sandpaper, sand it down where I need it, sand it down. But before I do that, I want to make sure it's got a couple details. I want to go back over the seam line for the joint, cut that off, make sure it's clear and free of epoxy so that the epoxy doesn't cure and seal the joint. You don't want that. Okay, and I'm going to do the same here. Clean everything up, all the joint areas. Right, what's happening? Batman and Drew and Paige soon for you. Yeah, I'd like to see that too. Thanks, Nate. Yeah, it's my favorite. It's probably my next to Star Wars and and Motu are my two favorite universes to work with. I feel like they're both. It's so easy to create within those universes because there's so much space and unexplored, Motu areas of that universe and unexplored Star Wars areas of that universe, galaxy. It's crazy. All right, so I'm gonna do a little bit of, just give it a little bit of, little detail. What else do you think? Said Hasbro, hire AC Toys. The toy lines are good quality anymore. Just kill brother. Yeah, like especially recently, Mattel or Mattel, yeah. Who's got the Motu license right now? I guess it's Mattel. Like they released this frog character that is exactly one of my designs. It's exactly one of my designs, and it's really frustrating because I can't really, even if I had, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like, it feels like they kind of ripped me off, but also I don't know for sure, but it's definitely one of my designs and there's nothing I can do about it. So I was like, hey, hire me. We'll make some cool stuff. But there's no way to prove that for sure. That happens to artists a lot, especially in this digital age. All right, I think I'm gonna leave that leg as it is because I don't want to like put my hand into it. So, design. Yeah, I appreciate the positivity, Nate. Um, let's see. All right, so here's where I'm at with this guy, Werewolf by Night. I just have his top hip area. Where's my guy? Here it is. Top hip area to sculpt, which I can't do that right now because this thigh is wet. So that'll be my next bit for there. Once that's sculpted, I'm going to go back through with sandpaper and just make sure everything's even and seamless and looks good. And then he'll be ready for paints. So you guys will see that more. I might do a live show painting him. Let's put him aside for right now. And again, with this guy, just for anybody tuning in late, I used my 2-part Aves epoxy for this guy. I'm gonna wrap it up here in a few minutes. But I'm gonna run through everything that I used tonight. My 2-part Aves epoxy to sculpt. That's this white stuff that you see all over this figure. My Aves safety solvent, which again I'm going to be giving some epoxy away and some safety solvent and a sculpting mat. I'm going to be giving those away on my Patreons, patreon.com/actoydesign. I'll be giving those away this month. And also you can find my weekly Q&A podcast and all my behind the scenes tutorials on my Patreon. It's like $2 to join, super cheap. You get a ton of behind the scenes stuff. And then, so that was this guy, but we started with, scoot him out of the way. We started with our silicone mold. So I'm going to just see this guy. It's totally still wet, 100%. See, you see that? You can see that mark that I made. It just healed up. So it's 100% still wet. This still needs several hours to cure. And what we did on this was we used Mold Star 30, parts A and B, mix those together. That's the silicone that you see. I also used mold release. Be very careful with this stuff. Use a mask, do it outside. And then the Super Sculpey, which you can get pretty much anywhere. But if you, all this stuff, the affiliate links are in the description of this video. Does it smell? Does what smell? The Mold Star? The Mold Star doesn't really do, there's not really a lot of fumes with the Mold Star. I mean, ideally you want to have good ventilation wherever you're working with any kind of chemical stuff like this. But it's not as like potent as the spray that I showed you, the mold release, or the resin that I'll be using with this mold. So yeah, I'm not really worried about that. And then, yeah, so that was it. And that's going to be a mold just like this. It's going to be a 2-part mold like that. Things are like giant door stops. That's how tough they are. And that's going to be in that mold is this guy's gun. So that is that. That was tonight. You guys, thank you so much for joining me. These live streams are awesome. I'm gonna try to do one. I'd like to do them way more often than I do. But thank you for tuning in, gang. There's a lot of you out there. I'm gonna post this video. Will be, yeah, a lot of those 3D anything, a lot of weird chemicals. But yeah, this video will be up on my channel. Make sure you check out my other channels. You can find me on social media on Instagram. It's my hub. It's at AC Toy Design. You can find me on Twitter, Crohn and Oates, CROHN, Crohn and Oates, like all in Oates, or just look up my name, Adam Crohn. You guys check out my podcast. If you guys are podcast people, I do podcasts. I do a horror movie podcast called Death by Toys, or Death by, what is it called? Death by Podcast. Yeah, you can use Vaseline. It gets a little messy though. Vaseline and baby powder people use. It gets a little messy. But anyway, check out my podcast. There's a horror one called Death by Podcast. Everywhere you pod, Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. And there's a Star Wars podcast that I do. I'm the host of and produce, and it's called I Have Spoken. It's also everywhere you pod. You can check that. I'll try to put links to those as well in the description here. What else? Patreon, if you want to support the channel directly, patreon.com/AC Toy Design. And I think that's it for now. You guys good? Hope you're good. Thank you for the offer to scan something, Karis. That's awesome. Nate at Fun Lab, shout out. Always supportive. I appreciate that. And until the next live stream, I will see you guys later. Be safe, all right? Get something to eat. Help somebody out. Hug somebody. Be a positive force in your community. All right, guys? Toys, do it. That's going to be my slogan. Toys, do it. See you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.